Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what we're going to be going over is the quickest and easiest gypsum that you can get every day in New World 1.2. So for those of you that are not quite aware yet, or you're still getting to terms with the brand new update, New World 1.2 introduced a brand new gypsum and expertise system, whereby you can collect a certain amount of gypsum of each different type, craft those into gypsum orbs, and then those orbs go into a certain box. So for example, a chestplate box that will increase your gear score all the way up to 590, and it'll be by a certain small increment each time you do it, all the way up until you hit that maximum, like I said there, which is 590. Now I'm going to go over today the quickest and the easiest ones. So we're going to start off with the fastest and the easiest ones to do, and we're going to go down the line. But as we go down the line, I'm going to explain why they take longer and if they're worth doing when they do take longer. For example, other benefits you get from getting those gypsum orbs or doing the activities which they require in order to get them. Now, before we jump fully into today's video, if you are new to the channel, please do make sure that you drop a subscribe down below with the notification bell on, as I do upload every single day brand new New World content, and I would love to have you guys here as part of my channel community. And without further ado, let's jump into the first one here. So the first one you'll see is actually very, very easy to get, and it's the Diamond Gypsum. This one is only around for the event period, so obviously we've got the Winter Convergence Festival right now in Attunement. This one is only here during this period, so make the most of it while you can. All you have to do is get 3 of these in order for it to be completed, and in order to get them, all you have to do is run over to the big trees of light, which you guys can see on the middle of my screen there. You go up to it. I've just done mine today, but you would interact with it. It gives you a present, and alongside that present, you will be given a Diamond Gypsum. It is literally as simple as that. My recommendation is that you go to the places where you've got homes. So for me, Windswood, Everfall, and then all the way up in Morningdale, or where you've got an inn, so long as it's not one of these. For me, my inn is at Shattered Mountains. That's why I say the homes. You literally go there, interact with the trees, get your 3 gypsum, and that is your gypsum orb done for that per day. Very, very quick, less than 4 minutes. Very, very easy to do. You don't need any requirements whatsoever other than being above level 15. So obviously, it's an endgame thing. Makes sense. Very easy to do, so that is by far the first one. And the second one here is going to be the Emerald, which you get from your trade skill Aptitude caches. So once you've hit level 200 in any given trade skill, you guys will see that you start to get these little markers here just on each of the 200 ones. And when you get to a certain point, like you can see on my harvesting one here, you get past there and you get a trade skill Aptitude cache. Usually, the first one you get per day, I can't say for 100%, but every time for me, it's been the first cache I've got per day. Alongside that cache, you will get an Emerald Gypsum drop. You only need 1 of these per day in order to craft that Gypsum orb, so you'll only need to do the first third or maybe 2/3 if it's, you know, not the first one every time. But for me, like I say, it has been. So let me know in the comments if it's ever been more than the first time for you guys, so we can kind of clear that up. But generally, you need to do 1/3 at a skill. Usually takes between 10 and 20 minutes, depending where you're farming. For me, harvesting has been the easiest ones. Windswoods are a great place to do this, but you've also got some of other places. I really like to do my harvesting up here in Morningdale. I do a big run down from the settlement all the way through these places here, picking up fibers, wire fibers, silkweed, all of that stuff, and then down into the Morningdale section here, right through into the rest of the shore, onto the shrine, and then teleport back from the shrine. Usually gets to be easily 2/3 of the way there done, so I can get a couple of caches, some nice materials, and of course my Emerald Gypsum. Or, for those of you that haven't seen it yet, which we'll touch on in a moment later in the video, you can do Topaz Gypsum and do your skinning one at the same time. And for that one, I like to do the boars up in Eden's Grove, just kind of near the water here, just around this section. Really, really good to do. And basically, that will get you your trade skill Aptitude, and you can do your Topaz one, which we'll touch on in a moment, so I'll talk more about that. Then, the next one is going to be your Ruby Gypsum. As you guys can see here, Ruby Gypsum is obtained by going into Outpost Rush. Very easy to do if you have a server. You need 2 of these to complete, so you just need to complete 2 matches per day. If you've had a merged server, this should be very, very easy to do. You don't have to place well. You don't have to, you know, do anything specific. You just literally have to go in and play the entire game. So you can't AFK it, but you just have to go in and play, have a bit of fun with it, try and queue with some friends. Very easy to do if you've got a populated server. If you're on one of those unlucky servers that hasn't yet been merged, probably you're going to have to wait until it merges if you're anything like my old server was. We were struggling to get games going, but now it is abundant. We're getting 3 or 4 at the same time, so you should be easily able to do these, particularly at peak times on the server. So this one's not necessarily hard, but it is server dependent, which is why I've left it till the 3rd one here. Now, the fourth one I'm going to talk about is Amethyst. This one is simply got by clearing corruption breaches. They must be the level 66 ones, so the endgame ones. You can find these in Reekwater, as you guys will see. There's kind of like a big one there and a few of the minor ones around it. You've also then got Ebon Scale Reach. This is the new one where these are now up to level 66. This area is really, really good. Lots of them in quick succession. You can literally go up and do a full loop around the island, and you kind of got all of them done. You should have all of them done in that easily. And then, of course, there's Murkgard, which is always really, really good. Or not necessarily Murkgard, but Shattered Mountains. You get some up to the top left section here. And you also get some over to the top right. If you do get the choice, if, like you can see right now, there's none open on my server. But if you do get the choice, I would go top right. There's generally more here. A couple of big ones and loads of minor ones. And you do get generally more from doing that. For those of you that don't know, the minor ones offer you a chance at a drop, and the major breaches offer you a guaranteed Amethyst Gypsum drop. You do need 7 of these in total, and generally by the time you've done maybe 10 to 15 small ones with a big one or 2 mixed in, you will have this done, depending how lucky you are with your Amethyst Gypsum that day. I've done them in the first 7 before, and I've also taken about 20-30 portals to do them, so it really is random. Just have to keep going. I recommend doing this in a group of 10 to 15 just to make it quick. Go around, clear them out. If you've got any corruption-bane weapons, throw those on. Very quick and easy to do, 10 to 20 minutes depending. But yeah, very, very fun one to do as well. I enjoy doing that one for sure. Now, the next one here is going to be your Sapphire Gypsum. This one is obtained by finishing Lazarus Instrumentality or Garden of Genesis. You have to kill the last boss and finish the dungeon. So these expeditions are located, obviously Lazarus is just north of the Reekwater settlement, and then Garden of Genesis is the top left corner of Eden's Grove. Over here, you guys will see it. Your best bet for that one is going to the Valorhold Outpost and going the left side of the map, or indeed the shrine at the top as well there. Both of them fairly easy to do with a competent group, but they do take between 30 and 45 minutes depending how fast you can clear things, obviously depending on trophies, weapons, etc. But these are fairly straightforward to do if you have the keys. The keys can be quite expensive, they do cost a lot of materials, and you need someone with the relative stone cutting level in order to be able to do it. But for example, Blight Siege, you get a load of these from doing the runs, so you can easily get the materials if you do go ahead and complete some of them, but some of the materials you do need are quite expensive on some servers, so it will depend, which is kind of why I've left this further down the list. If you've got the keys and a decent group, it's easy to do, shouldn't take too long, very fun to do as well. But if you haven't got the keys, you've got to craft them, it can take a little bit longer. And this is again the same with the Citrine Gypsum, which you guys will see here. This one is from the arenas, and it's the same sort of deal here. If you've got the keys and a good group, fairly easy to do. But if you haven't, they can be fairly costly. Now, these ones as well, you've got to remember, these are in locations such as Siren's Stand in Reekwater, which requires you to go through the entire elite zone. Now, you can just run past it and get to the entrance if you do want to, which is obviously the arena at the bottom here, which is the Spire of Melpomene. So obviously you could run past everything, but it is going to be better to do it and clear it. And of course, when we touch on the Obsidian Gypsum in a moment, you could do both at the same time there. Now, obviously, with these ones as well, the arenas can be a little bit harder, particularly if you're on the lower gear score, your weapons aren't quite as high, you haven't got the right trophies in, or you're a fresh level 60, anything like that. Some of these arenas can be pretty tough, but just try to make sure that you're matching the enemy weaknesses with the weapons that you're taking in, and you should be pretty good. But again, good group, keys already made, fairly easy to do, and these ones only take 4 or 5 minutes. It's just that the components for the keys are a little bit less frequent to drop, so that's why I put this further down the list. Now, the next one we're going to talk about here is, of course, the Topaz Gypsum, and this one requires you to craft an Attunement Potion. Now, the Attunement Potions can be crafted on any tier 5 camp. As you guys can see here, this is not my one, but if I set my respawn point to there, we can go onto this camp and we can actually scroll all the way down. Just shoot my camera to the other side of the screen and I can show you guys here the Topaz Gypsum Attunement Potion. These can only be crafted once every 24 hours, and as you guys can see on the screen here, the required ingredients are 1 of each elemental animal, I like to call them, or elemental creature. So the Earth Shell Tail, the Salamander Slime, the Lightning Beetle, the Spine Fish Fins, Life Moth Eyes, Soul Worm Tongue, and the Blight Moth Dust. You need 1 of each per day if you're wanting to craft this daily, and you get 60 minutes, and essentially what you do is kill mobs of level 55 or above, and you need to get 10 Topaz Gypsum in order for this to be completed in order to craft your orb, but they don't drop from every single mob, so it is going to cost a bit of time grinding. I did make a video on how to do this one and the emerald one, like I mentioned there, with the boars up in Eden's Grove. That's a really, really good spot. You can go up there, kind of to this location just here next to the water. You can farm the boars, you'll get your aptitude container by your skinning level going up, and of course, you'll be able to get your topaz kills for that as well. Another thing that people like to do is do it in conjunction with an elite zone, and that's why I mentioned earlier on about the Obsidian Gypsum, which is from the elite zones. You could always go ahead and clear these maybe as you're making your way to one of the arenas, or indeed just to get the Obsidian, which again I will touch on in a second, and go through these areas, pop a Topaz and do it at the same time. I personally like the ones where the respawns are much higher because you've obviously got much more chance to get it, but if you're doing both at the same time, you're trying to kill 2-3 birds with one stone, it could be worth doing. So it's entirely up to you, but I would certainly recommend doing that alongside one of the other types of gypsum, as it can be the most tedious. Usually takes between 20 and 40 minutes. It can take upwards to 50 to an hour even if you get really unlucky with the drops, but for me usually it's about half an hour for this one. So it does take quite a long time, and if you've got a little bit more time to play, like I say, or you're going to be doing the next one that I'm going to talk about, the Obsidian, at the same time, or the arenas, etc., then you could do these on the way there. Now, like I've been mentioning, the Obsidian Gypsum, this one is by killing level 60 plus named bosses in the open world, so really your elite area bosses right now, as we haven't seen, you know, the Turklon or anything like that continue to be in the game. So what you'll need to do is go in there and you can get 3 of these in order to craft the Gypsum Orb, and you can get 3 drops per day from it. They don't drop from every boss, however, so you will need to kill a few. You might need to rotate around elite zones in order to do it, or wait for respawns, whatever, and then you can try and get 3 of those. So that's why some people do the Topaz at the same time, so that they can kill the mobs and then the bosses and try and get it all done whilst getting the chests, which is a fairly decent way to do it. And of course, if you're doing something like Siren Strand, which I'm zoomed in on here on the map, you can go all the way up here, clear all of that, get your Topaz, your Obsidian done, and then make your way around to the actual arena as well to get your Citrine one afterwards. So that also works out to be true, which is kind of a good way to do it as well if you want to mix in some extra ones. Like I said there, they don't drop from every single boss, so it can be fairly slow to do, and they are quite rare to drop compared to some of the other ones. It usually takes me 2 or 3 bosses per one. That being said, I do think that the elite zones, you know, especially your Reekwater ones, your Merkguard ones, and of course now your Ebon Skill Reach ones, since they've been buffed, you should be doing a run of these every day or so anyway, just to keep your gear score up, as you do have a good chance of getting your expertise. You've got about 8 or 9 chests in Ebon Skill Reach right now in this area down here. I'll show you guys on the map. It is the Imperial Palace Elite Stronghold area, which has now been buffed, and the same again in Merkguard. So these are going to be your best ones to go for, where you can get expertise drops. You can get expertise drops from the bosses there, as well as your Gypsums, and of course you can get the timeless shards, have a chance to drop from those elite chests in those areas as well. So it's a really good thing to just get into the habit of completing whilst you're in the areas as well. And of course you can get the Gypsum. Like I said, you do need 3 there. Now a pro tip with this is going to be combining them. So as you guys can see right now in my inventory, you do only need 1 Sapphire and 1 Citrine, but it does allow you to collect 2 at one time. I don't know why that is, but it does. So again, I've done 2 arenas in a row, and I've done 2 Garden of Genesis is in a row, because I just managed to do both of the ones in the same area. And then of course we went over and we've done the diamond ones, which you should be doing every day. Outpost Rush, I need to queue for another one of those. And then of course I've got 1 of the Obsidian here. I need to go and get a couple more, but just doing 2 or 3 of those at the same time. So for example, Topaz and Emerald, like I mentioned there, you trade skill Aptitude from your skinning whilst you're killing the boars, really good. You could do Topaz and Obsidian, like I mentioned, the killing the mobs in the elite zone and then killing the bosses. You've got Sapphire and Citrine, like I've done. You can go to the arenas. So for example, my favourite one to do is Reekwater. I'll go over here and we can do Lazarus a couple of times, and then we can go and do maybe, you know, one of the arenas down here, or we can go up and do the arena, which is just in the Eternal Pool up here as well. So there's a couple of options there. These are very close by. You can literally run around the back and do both of these in close succession, or you can go over to Genesis, and obviously Genesis does have the expedition top left, and then the arena called Zygromat's Grove just down here in sort of the middle right. Fairly easy to do as well, but this one is probably one of the hardest arenas, if not the hardest out of the 3, I would say. But if you've got a fire mage, you should be good. And then also you can do things like Obsidian and Citrine. Again, when you're going through Reekwater, you've got to push through that elite zone to get to the boss arena. Same with the Eternal Pool, but this is not the case for this one at the top. So obviously if you want to do the Eden's Grove one, then you don't need to fight through the elite zone for it. So maybe you wouldn't pair them, you'd pair that maybe with something else, but it's just as an idea for you. And then of course you've got like Ruby and Emerald. Go out and do your emerald gathering, trading, whatever it is. Emeralds are pretty easy to do. You just literally can do the gathering if you've got those to 200. So go out and do that. Queue for an Outpost Rush. Go in whenever it's up and then continue to do these until you get your cash and your Emerald Gypsum. And then, of course, your 2 Outpost Rushes done. So it's up to you how you want to do this. But pairing them together is going to be the best way to get it done as quickly as you possibly can. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video, found it useful and informative. If you have, please do be sure to leave a like on today's video, as it really does help support me and my content here on YouTube. If you are new to the channel, like I mentioned at the beginning of today's video, please do drop a subscribe, as it really does help me out. We have hit 12,500, so like I said yesterday, massive thank you to you all for that. We are now gunning for 13,000 subscribers. Obviously, probably not by the end of the year, but any support towards that would be massively appreciated. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your time, and I will catch you tomorrow on another upload. Take care, guys, and peace.